10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
Gerakan sains terbuka semakin mendapat momentum dalam beberapa tahun kebelakangan ini dengan matlamat mengubah amalan penyelidikan sains dan menjadi agenda kebangsaan di serata dunia. Ia ditarifkan sebagai amalan untuk meruntuhkan halangan yang membendung aliran bebas ilmu dalam kalangan para penyelidik. Ini dipercayai boleh membina keyakinan masyarakat kepada sains dan keandalan hasil-hasil saintifik. Kemajuan teknologi hari ini memacu gerakan sains terbuka, lantas mendorong Kementerian Pengajian Tinggi, Platform Sains Terbuka Malaysia serta para penyelidik Malaysia mendakap anjakan ke arah paradigma baharu itu. MOSP ditubuhkan oleh Gabungan Sains Terbuka Malaysia yang terdiri daripada Kementerian Sains, Teknologi dan Inovasi, KPT, Unit Pemodenan Tadbiran dan Perancangan Pengurusan Malaysia dan Universiti-Universiti Penyelidikan. Profesor Abrizah Abdullah dari MOSP berkata, para penyelidik harus dimudahkan untuk sepenuhnya memanfaatkan amalan-amalan penyelidikan dengan menggabungkan penerbitan ilmiah dan set data. Memandangkan gerakan ini masih agak baharu, Abrizah berkata, para penyelidik boleh membuat keputusan tentang bagaimana untuk memanfaatkannya, termasuk hak seseorang untuk mengakses maklumat tanpa sebarang petunjuk lokasi atau status sosioekonomi sebagai penghalang.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Respected speaker, Professor Dr. Abrizah Abdullah from the Department of Library Science and Information, Faculty of Arts and Social Science, University of Malaya. Respected Professor Dato Dr. Norbik Bashah Idris, Chief Information Officer, International Islamic University Malaysia and Champion for Knowledge Connectivity. Respected Madam Yusrina Abu Bakar, Acting Chief Librarian cum Chief Knowledge Officer and Top Management of Dar Al-Hikmah Library, IIUM. Respected Heads of Research and KM Champions from Center of Studies and Administration Officers, colleagues from Dar Al-Hikmah Library, IIUM, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. In the name of Allah, the most gracious and the most merciful, praise be to Allah, the cherisher and sustainer of the worlds, and blessings be on our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family and his companions. Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin our talk with the recitation of Kitab Al-Fatiha. Amin ya Rabbal Alamin. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Ahmad Ashaari Alias, Special Officer to the CIO IIUM. I will be moderating this session today. On behalf of Dar Al-Hikmah Library, we wish to extend our warm welcome and thank you to our speaker, to Prof. Dato CIO and all participants to today's event entitled Knowledge Management Normalizing Open Science. In brief, knowledge management is to provide the right information to the right people at the right time, as well as enabling, capturing, sharing, use, and reuse of useful knowledge. On the other hand, open science is recognized as the initiative of sharing the scientific research, which includes publications, data, physical samples, and software, and making them transparent to society, amateur, or professional, so that it can be accessible by all levels through collaborative networks. Hence, to connect these two vital elements of knowledge, Dar Al-Hikmah Library aspires to organize this talk on knowledge management and open science as part of knowledge sharing activities for IIUM. Even though we are conducting today's event online, hopefully all of us will be able to reap as many fruitful ideas, benefits, and experience towards effective management of the knowledge and open science in our organization. Ladies and gentlemen, to start the event, let me introduce our Chief Information Officer, IIUM, who will be delivering the opening remark today. Dato Dr. Norbik Bashah Idris is a professor at Kuliah of ICT in IIUM and is currently the CIO, or Chief Information Officer. He started his academic career in 1983 and has been attributed as one of the early pioneers of cybersecurity in Malaysia. Throughout his career, he has been a member of professional cybersecurity bodies locally and internationally. As a practitioner, Professor Norbik carries CISSP and CISM professional certifications from ISC2 and ISACA respectively, with the latest being a certified blockchain developer from the Blockchain Council USA. Prof. Norbik has been keynote speaker, visiting professor, corporate figure, consultant, and advisor to various organizations and governments, both in Malaysia and international. He was a nominee for 2007 Ernst & Young Best IT Entrepreneur, twice recipient of Distinguished ISC2 Award winner for Asia Pacific, IDG Distinguished Chief Security Officer for the Asia Pacific, winner of at least 7 gold medals of cybersecurity products and services, and holder of a few patents. Prof. Norbik's latest interest is in applying cybersecurity and blockchain technologies to innovate products and services in the hope of contributing to the Maqasid Sharia. Without further ado, I now have the distinct pleasure to respectfully invite Prof. Dato Dr. Norbik Bashah Idris to deliver his opening remark. Please welcome, Prof.
Thank you very much, Brother Ashaari. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وأنت علام الغيوب ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. First and foremost, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us this opportunity to have this event today. And of course, I really would like to welcome Prof. Abrizah from UM. I guess she is the most authoritative to talk about the subject that we are going to be discussing today. Thank you very much, Prof, for stealing some of your precious times to be with us in the event today. Thank you very much also to the team from Darul Hikmah Library, Madam Yusrina and Masita and Maznah and so on, for organizing this this event today. Also the knowledge champions in the university, the head of research, Rakan-Rakan from IIUM and all the other universities joining us through Zoom as well as the YouTube channel. Welcome, and inshallah we should benefit from the event today. As the welcoming remark, I just would like to share that knowledge management is definitely, and it is one of the main agendas, one of the initiatives of IIUM. Being a university, knowledge is what we live with. We breathe knowledge, we produce knowledge, we share knowledge, and so on. So managing such knowledge, I guess storing it, keeping it, sharing it, and using it to innovate and create new knowledge is something that the university is a place to be in. So knowledge management is definitely one of the main agendas in this university. And I guess coupling that today with this issue of open science is something that I really look forward to hear from Prof. Abrizah lah. Maknanya open science ni, as much as I understand, is making knowledge very open, innovating new knowledge, creating research and sharing the research results, and through collaboration and so on. But I am also coming from the cybersecurity perspective. It also rings in me that knowledge is as well, and senjata, it is a weapon. So we don't easily share a weapon with anybody else. So from the perspective that I am coming from, I really am looking forward to see how we can jive and balance these two, I guess, extremities. On the one hand, yes, knowledge is benda yang kita should share. Sharing knowledge is one of the sadaqatun jariyah. Knowledge that we share will even bring us rewards even when we are no longer around in this world. So sharing knowledge is something that is really encouraged by Islam dan sebagainya. But at the same time, we need to, I guess, match and synchronize it with, like I said, the expectation of keeping it as a very useful weapon of strength and so on. I am new to this aspect of open science and how we can synchronize it. But inshallah, from that perspective, we are really looking forward to hear from Prof. Abrizah today. So on that note, I want to keep it very short. Can't wait to hear what Prof. Abrizah is going to present, inshallah. And with that, I really welcome everyone who is here. And also I welcome participation from everyone through the channels, through the chat dan sebagainya. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Prof, for your opening remark. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, we are very honored today to have our invited speaker, Professor Dr. Abrizah Abdullah. Abrizah Abdullah is a professor at the Department of Library and Information Science, University of Malaya, and currently the Dean of the Institute for Advanced Studies, IIUM. Prior to this, she served as the Dean of the Faculty of Computer Science and Information Technology and the Dean of the Institute of Postgraduate Studies. She is a Senior Academic Associate at Cyber Research Limited, UK, and is currently involved in an international research funded by the Alfred Sloan Foundation that investigates the scholarly communication behaviors of early career researchers involving 8 countries. Professor Abrizah is the Chief Editor of the Malaysian Journal of Library and Information Science, which is indexed in both Web of Science and Scopus. She is currently a member of the Malaysian Open Science Alliance under the Academy of Sciences Malaysia, chairing the Working Group of Capacity Building and Awareness, member of the Steering Committee for the International Science Council Project on the Future of Scientific Publishing, and newly appointed as the Stakeholder Committee for the Directory of Open Access Books. And now presenting to you, ladies and gentlemen, the best resource person and towering figure in the open science field in Malaysia, Professor Dr. Abrizah Abdullah, to deliver her talk. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you, Brother Ahmad. Brother Ahmad, Cikgu Ahmad, thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning. I wish to my sahabat-sahabat at IIUM. Thank you very much, Prof. Dato CIO of IIUM, Prof. Dr. Norbik Bashah. This is the first time, that we meet, I believe. Dato Norbik, I was the Dean of the Faculty of Computer Science, Information Technology, UM for 2 years. Being there and now moving to the Faculty of Arts and Social Science, yeah, we still hear about you, yeah, Prof. Norbik, yeah, championing the blockchain, blockchain research, and also various innovation at the national level. It is really an honor for me, okay, to meet you online, yeah, and hope that we can also meet, inshallah lah, in future initiative. For example, in the case of IIUM, if there are small initiatives, for example, that you would like to further or strengthen the open science practices among your researchers, and also among the knowledge gatekeepers, the librarians, yeah, at your university. I would like to wish Assalamualaikum to my colleagues at IIUM. I can see familiar names, yeah, listed. Puan Yusrina Abu Bakar, yeah, and also sahabat-sahabat at IIUM, and also from the faculties, I can see names that that are very, very familiar, and some of them we have been communicating and sharing about open science. Okay, in the context of this talk, yeah, connecting, I would say connecting knowledge management and also normalizing open science. This is something that is new actually to me. Yeah, it is new. In my previous talk or awareness program that I have conducted in my capacity as the chairperson of the working group under MOSP, awareness and capacity building, I have been talking about how to practice among researchers, what are the roles and the competencies of librarians needed, okay, to practice open science, and also, in terms of sensitive issues in relation to assessment in the context of open science practices, whether there is a need or perhaps there is a possibility that we can sort of consider openness and transparent practices, okay, in the assessment of our researchers, in coming up with guidelines, yeah, for open science. But this, in putting a knowledge management in the context of open science is something that is new, and it is very, very, I would say, I'm very, very grateful to IIUM because triggering this, okay, in the context of putting, this particular talk, focusing or perhaps relating it, or as what is being put forward by IIUM, when we understand what is open science, there is a very, very big possibility that we can leverage KM, okay, in the process. All right, but it's just a matter of understanding what it is and how best, okay, that we can further force KM, okay, in relation to making our research output open. Okay. All right. Okay, so the purpose of this particular talk is basically, this is what I foresee, this is why I envisage that this talk is going to suggest that, okay, what I'm going to share with you is basically, I would like to suggest that research organizations, we are talking about research performing organizations, okay? When we talk about RPO, it is an organization with abundant, talented, highly educated, very skilled researchers, skilled manpower, and also, given or coupled with natural resources endowment, especially in terms of funding, okay, and the resources that are need to actually, to conduct the research, all right? So RPO like this can actually leverage knowledge management as a core competency to normalize open science. So this is what we are going to focus on. And this particular purpose will require an understanding of open science, will require understanding what are the benefits and the challenges, and also what are the priority topics that are being talked about, that are being discussed about all around the world, and how best can open science could be practiced, okay, in the context of, for example, an RPO, or perhaps in the context of IIUM, for example, that have been practicing knowledge management, especially putting KM and also, incorporating the attainment of knowledge and wisdom in the vision of your library. Okay, I just checked this morning that the vision of Dar Al-Hikmah Library is to be a dynamic library for the attainment of knowledge and also wisdom for the ummah. So here we can actually see you are actually leading towards open science. If we're talking about the global community, okay, if we're talking about knowledge sharing and attainment of wisdom to the global community. So in this context, I would say that this is a very, very relevant, putting open science practices in the context of an institution, an international institution, for like IIUM, and also incorporated this in the vision of the library, as library has been regarded as one of the important key player, okay, in open science. Okay, all right. Just putting this in the context of KM, we understand that, all right, KM is making tacit, implicit and explicit knowledge accessible. We know that, okay? And KM has been actually further enhanced, I would say, in the context of making or involving all users, all right, in the context of organization, to create content, to produce content, all right, so that it can be shared among the institution. Okay, users and also content creators in an institution can engage with the users, okay, of the knowledge, all right, by facilitating their knowledge inquiry, information needs, for example. So users and also content creators in a knowledge engagement platform, okay, can ask questions, can add comments, all right, or even tag, okay, or including other subject experts, so that they can actually participate in the conversation, or if not conversation, participate in addressing the information needs, okay, of that particular user whenever they get notified, whenever they get mentioned. So we have seen this kind of knowledge engagement platforms being very open nowadays, okay, in the context of social media. All right, we have seen this happening. All right, whether or not this is happening in the context of an institution, okay, it is still a challenge, a challenge. So, in fact, when we talk about being open, and also in KM, the tacit knowledge is also considered as very kind of challenging, okay, to be captured. All right. However, in recent, I would say not recent, but in the past 10 years, the developments in the technology, okay, has actually fostered tacit knowledge to be captured, all right, with the various technological affordances that I believe nowadays researchers are actually using. Researchers are using, but to what extent their organization know that they are using, it is still a big question mark, all right? Okay, so to develop a successful knowledge management strategy, especially the focus on sharing, we have to understand how different types of knowledge are communicated and how effectively it can be stored. Okay, and I would like to stress again, this is nothing new. Okay, in the context of digital technology, the affordances of various digital platforms that can actually help, okay, organizations, all right, to effectively communicate and also store the knowledge of their institution. So, all right. So when we talk about knowledge management, okay, in research performing organizations, because I would like to connect this to open science, okay, KM has a strong focus on organizational knowledge management, all right, So, academic institution, they are organizations that definitely do research, yeah, and the researchers in their institution, they are knowledge workers. So if we understand that the researchers are also knowledge workers, we can easily substitute the organization with groups that attach to various, for example, faculties or departments or research group that conduct research. So in the context of knowledge management, in research organization, it refers to identifying and leveraging the collective knowledge, identifying and leveraging the collective knowledge in a research group, so that this can help the group produce new knowledge, as what has been stressed, in the opening remarks of our Dato, Prof. Norbik. So the management of scientific knowledge and the management of the lab doing science in the context of universities nowadays are two areas that can easily use KM. So whether we are doing this in the context of research, or scientific knowledge, it is still a big question mark. All right. So this is basically just connecting, KM with what has been, published by Alavi and Leitner to KM in research organization. So this is just basically the few slides are basically connecting KM and also, research organizations performing research. Okay. So now we can use KM, to manage the scientific knowledge and also management of the lab, because we know that our researchers, especially when postdoc, they go away, professors, they retire, when professors retired, for example, all right, they always bring together the knowledge that they have in their head, not that knowledge that are actually being, explicitly documented. Also, the research group members, what more, researchers from outside the discipline could not access, because all these are being captured in their own personal equipment, right? Okay, I believe most of our researchers who are here, do acknowledge this. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, so in this context, I put forward the idea that KM ties to doing science. Okay, when we talk about knowledge management in terms of scientific knowledge, right, and also managing research group, it is all about doing science. Okay, so the aim of KM in organization are actually very much aligned with the aim of KM in doing science, because in KM we make knowledge visible. Yeah, I'm not a KM person. This is what I've been reading for the past 1 week. All right. In KM, we want to make knowledge visible. In KM, we make sharing, knowledge sharing intensive culture. All right. In KM, also we build the infrastructure. So this is also happening in science, and this is very much being stressed. Nowadays that we want to make this is a call. A call from the global scientific community. It is not from only certain parts of the world. This has been a big agenda, all right, globally, all right, to make knowledge visible, to develop a knowledge intensive culture, especially in sharing, and also to build a global knowledge infrastructure. Memang dah ada lama dah benda ni. All right. So somehow open science that have been recommended by various scientific organizations has tried to make this a reality to the point that now Malaysia also has agreed that this is becoming important and should be a national agenda, and being now hopefully realized through the Malaysian Open Science Platform Initiative, championed by the Academy Science of Malaysia and various universities and also research organizations in Malaysia. Okay, all right. So. Okay, when we talk about knowledge management ties with science, the most important part is that to capture the explicit knowledge in science, it has to be rigor and transparent. Yeah, okay. So the production of knowledge in science is actually not different from the production of knowledge generally. Yeah, okay. It is only different in rigor. All right. So this is the difference. All right. Production of general knowledge. The difference is that production of general knowledge that is different from the production of scientific knowledge is that production of scientific knowledge needs to be rigor, and that rigor depends on a transparent science. So this is what open science would like to, advocate, that transparency is made possible. Transparency is made possible. So everybody, all right, who not only the producers of scientific knowledge, but also the consumer of scientific knowledge should be able to have access, to the scientific knowledge. All right, and nowadays it has become very, very, it has become a reality because of the technology, because of the technological affordances, and because there are various infrastructure and platforms that can actually document the production of scientific knowledge. This is nothing new, because this has been actually initiated by various libraries in Malaysia, including IIUM. All right. So now connecting KM and also, scientific knowledge and the researchers, who are actually the knowledge workers. So in universities, researchers are the knowledge workers. We understand that, all right? So these researchers, they have specialized knowledge. These are their characteristics I have listed here. They have specialized knowledge around a specific topic. They have the ability to find and access new information. And they have the ability, and also these are the things that they do. They do research, they analyze and utilize new information. They also communicate, with other researchers and also with other stakeholders, for example, all right? They share knowledge with others. They share knowledge not just in a form of publications, for example, all right? They share knowledge in terms of other products that they have. For example, they do engagement with the industry. They do engagement with the policymakers. All right. So in the end, how they develop as a knowledge workers, all right, as something that is tangible in them, is that they have a mindset that drives growth and innovation. Again, that has been actually, demonstrated by Prof. Norbik. Prof. Norbik, yeah. Okay. So scientists, they actually work in ways that are comparable to other knowledge workers. So they are the knowledge workers, of course, in a research performing organization. As knowledge workers, all right, they actually follow various workflows, scientific workflows in their own research discipline. We know that they use technology, to manage their scientific workflows, all right. In fact, to the point that basic technologies to manage the information. For example, using a bibliographic management tool, for example. All right, to the point that they follow certain workflows using the technology to manage the scientific workflows, collecting data. For example, nowadays we are, for example, capturing qualitative data from interviews that are conducting online. So this is something that are being integrated in their data collection or scientific workflow. So the technology has actually made it possible that this can be captured, this can be coded, this can be organized, and also if you share, if it is not an issue for you to share, for a scientist to share and make the data collection session, open to the public, so that people can actually see, you do research, you have the data, you have the data collection procedures in place, and you share on how you actually collect the data in the forms of interviewing CEOs, for example. All right, I'm just giving an example because we don't see this. Capturing the tacit knowledge of the CEOs, for example, in terms of doing interviews. So this can also be captured. All right, we have this in the form of podcasts nowadays. We have in the form of recorded videos. So all these are made possible. And a matter of making it transparent to the point that whatever you have to any users that you might want to learn or might want to get access to the information. So these researchers also, they use various repositories. They use knowledge repositories, I would say. We are very, very familiar with paper repository, preprint repository. Researchers also share their data in data repository nowadays. Modern researchers also share whatever codes that they have, code book, for example, their own journals, for example, if they collect, qualitative data, all right, in various repositories. So there are platforms that actually can capture all these kind of, documents. All right. Yeah, to the point that nowadays researchers, especially modern researchers, okay, they use social media. They use the various, collaborative platform, for example, to communicate and share information about their research. Okay, and all these tacit knowledge actually that come from them, all right, are able to be communicated. And because we understand that, you can only write, you cannot tell all, you see, but having all these opportunities and platforms to communicate your research transparently is now becoming the norm. Yeah, it's now becoming the norm among modern researchers. I would say the younger researchers, they are actually practicing this. All right. Okay, so there are various scholarly knowledge management systems that are available now. Okay, the various technology that we have that are open, okay, nowadays can be used, okay, by researchers, okay, and can be captured, can be organized by information professionals, for example, in the context of universities, by librarians. All right. Okay. Okay, so these scholarly knowledge management systems, like, for example, ResearchGate, or LinkedIn, for example. Okay, this is a scholarly knowledge management system. LinkedIn, ResearchGate, what else? Academia.edu, to the point that we have kudos. There are so many. Slack, for example. All right, they are actually not labeled as KM system, but they could be a KM system because they work the same way. Okay, so you can actually use this kind of technologies for KM in your own institution. All right, but to extent you want to make open, it depends, okay, on the policy of a particular university. But worldwide, people have been, okay, the researchers have been practicing communication and sharing, using the various scholarly knowledge management systems. Okay, but we are now using this an academic networking site. We use that, right? We use the word academic networking site, for example, like ResearchGate. Okay, it has not been like endorsed as a scholarly knowledge management system, but I'm just connecting this, okay, to how KM can actually leverage open science. All right, it has been done, it has been practiced. Okay, so the need for rigor, all this, the need for transparency in doing research, and also, enabled by all these technology, the repositories, the social media platform, for example, has led to open science. Okay, so there are various definitions of open science. In 2000, I would say 18 or 2017, for example, in the context of before actually after UNESCO came up with this definition also, there is still like motherhood and apple pie definition of open science. There has not been really a concrete definition of open science. Yeah, it's just like, okay, the what UNESCO has put forward here is basically very general. Okay, what it is a movement, okay, to make a scientific research and data accessible. Okay, and then indicated the practices. Okay, what are the practices? For example, publishing open scientific research, but how to do it? It is not being being detailed out. Yeah. Practices that campaign for open access, for example. So libraries, I'm not sure to what extent libraries at UIA is campaigning for open access, but this is actually one of the practice. All right. So in fact, the management, the university management also can campaign for open science. This is one practice. Okay, practicing open science. All right, making it easier to publish and communicate. Okay, how do we make it easier to publish? Now the APC is very, very high to some journals, right? It's like a second-hand car dan harga dalam 10,000, 12,000, ringgit. Okay, so and then I'm sorry to say, some universities also make it easier, okay, for their research to publish in such journal by by actually giving some sort of incentive, yeah, or maybe bear the cost of APC, for example, bear the cost of APC. However, it is only applicable to certain journals, for example. All right, applicable to certain journals. So is it making it easier to publish, for example? Is it making it easier to communicate scientific knowledge? So this is something that need to be further discussed actually on how do we interpret to make it easier to publish, okay, and make it easier to communicate scientific knowledge. Make it easier to publish and communicate can be in a form of informal communication channels. So you see, so these are basically what UNESCO has actually recommended. Yeah, okay, but the gist is that it should make science more transparent. It should be make science more accessible during the research process. All right. So this also to the extent of capturing whatever the scientists have produced in their labs, for example, their lab book, the technical report, for example. All right. Whatever perhaps they have developed some codes and also software, okay, to manage their research, for example. If there is a possibility to capture all this, okay, in the context of making research more transparent, that would be very, very encouraging. All right, so now we move to understanding open science. So nowadays there are various documents and reports that we can read, okay, in order for us to understand what is actually open science, to the point that scientific organizations such as the International Science Council and various Academy of Sciences in various countries, even Malaysian Open Science platform also has produced some reports and also guidelines, okay, on how open science can be implemented. Okay, so basically, when we talk about open science, all right, it is not just related to scientists, okay, or the sciences, all right. It involves all discipline. So science here actually relates to ilmu lah. Science here is ilmu, knowledge. Okay, science is actually knowledge. So it is basically open knowledge, or it started with this particular name, open scholarship. It all started with open scholarship, but the word open science sort of has been endorsed, okay, by the research community in the more developed country, for example, like UK, and make it as part of their agenda. Okay, so so among the librarians here, when we talk about open science, you can also use it as a preferred term lah. Okay, and the not used term is like open scholarship or open knowledge. I believe my librarian colleague, they understand what I meant. All right, so open science actually, what trigger it? What trigger is basically the failure to replicate previous research. So this is actually happening. Okay, that's lead to various research publications nowadays being retracted, right? Because people refer to their papers, people refer to their method section, for example, and when scientists want to replicate, the findings, okay, they could not produce the same result, for example. All right, so to the point that leading to a lot of publications being retracted. So that's actually the issue. Okay, that is actually the issue. And open science has been a priority by many countries. In Malaysia, it is now becoming a national agenda. All right, but just to share, this national agenda differs from one country to another. Okay, in the context of MOSP, the interest is more on making data fair, making the research data fair, that is findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. In the United States, for example, United States not so, but it is like a global movement where San Francisco Declaration of Research Assessment has actually highlighted that openness and transparency needs to be incorporated as part of assessing researchers. So it is more on the assessment. In Africa, it is still, the agenda is still making research output open access. Okay, so it depends. Okay, on various country national agenda. All right. So as a result of this open science, a lot of initiative has actually becoming visible. Okay, open access data repositories. We have seen this. We have seen libraries developing this since 2007. We talk about open access, all right, and then we have seen this becoming more, visible now when when researchers have also used various repositories in their own discipline to share their research output. Okay, for example, some of these repositories have names. Okay, names very, very popular, very reputable. For example, among the physicists competing people, archive.org, for example, bioarchive, chem archive, repair, for example, economics, and also some of these repositories have been accepted, okay, as the national output of a particular region. For example, SciILO in Latin America, in China, the CNKI, for example, to the fact that even our libraries also are actually cataloging or putting CNKI in our library portal. All right. Okay, so this particular open science practices, the various platforms have actually achieved global impact. And they are embraced by researchers, mainly the academics. When I talk about academics also, I would say in context of Malaysia, the health sciences, medical sciences, people in biology, they are actually people doing SDG research, for example, they are mainly, have actually practicing this. All right. Okay, so this is nothing new actually among our researchers. But to what extent do our institution open up the record of science of their institution? So this is now what we can see, and putting this in the context of KM. All right. So, okay, open science, it is openness to science. Okay, this is the definition by OECD that focus on breaking barriers that prevent the free flow of knowledge. All right. Okay, so in context of MOSP, okay, this has also been published, like what you have viewed just now, published by Free Malaysia Today. Is good, like Free Malaysia Today, very interested to publish what we talk about open science. And FMT has actually helped, not really helped, but producing the Malay version, okay, of their of the write-up. They have actually defined what is open science, and given it a Malay name, that is a Sains Terbuka. Okay, so at least we have that documentation from Malaysia that open science has its own takrifan, that is amalan untuk meruntuhkan halangan yang membendung aliran bebas ilmu dalam kalangan para penyelidik. Okay, so this is something that we are going to, hopefully, move towards. All right, that that hopefully our research output will belong to us, will belong to us, to our institution, to the taxpayers, okay, who bear the cost of our research, for example. All right. Okay, so this is the movement towards breaking the barriers that prevent the free flow of knowledge. All right. Even among librarians also, sometimes we do talk about this. Okay, in the end, if they cannot get the resources from the net, from the internet, from the various search engine. They will always go to the library, right? And even if they cannot get from the library, they can always go to the researchers, and the researchers are willing actually, okay, to give the resources that they have, for example, the papers. So we do not want to the extent that, our researchers or even our young researchers go towards platform that can be considered problematic for them later on, or problematic to any information. For example, any person that direct them to this a problematic platform, for example, is like the black open access. We know about this, right? The black open access. Yeah. For example, there are a few platforms that are considered as black open access. BookXC, for example, or Sci-Hub. Okay. So I have this. That is a question that I can see here. If everything is open access, is there any issue with plagiarism? Okay, Puan Mazna, I cannot say that this is a consensus. This can be opinion, experiences, but it is actually easy to detect plagiarism if people share on, people are transparent, all right, and open about their research. It is easier to detect plagiarism. If everything is open access, is there any issue with plagiarism? So I would say it would be easier to detect plagiarism, and this somehow will deter plagiarism and will educate. Okay, for example, librarians and also scientists. Yeah, scientists, they supervisors, research supervisors, research lab. Okay, the principal investigator, for example, if they, their students, when they supervise their students, this is something that, they have to educate, their younger researchers, right? Okay. So I would say that, is there any issue? Well, there will be issues, yeah, but with transparency and openness of research output, in the long run, it somehow will deter plagiarism. People will be more ethical. I would say this is like ideal, so ideal, kan? Prof. Abrizah ni so ideal. Yeah, I see that will become a reality, right? Because this is what open science would like to address. Okay, reproducibility to the point that it can, it may lead to, making researchers more, not making researchers more ethical, but somehow will inculcate ethics and integrity, will further, strengthen the ethics and integrity among researchers or when they do research. So this is what I see, Puan Mazna. Yeah. Okay. All right, so, okay, I do not have that much time actually then. Okay, so this is another context, okay, of open science. When we talk about open science, okay, some people say open science has various, it is an umbrella for various initiatives, okay, but we talk about open science, it's always related to sharing data as well. So open science is, in the context of open data, it is about fair data. So this is what the research community, in fact, MOSP has actually advocated, that okay, the data should be as open as possible and as close as necessary. Jadi Prof Norbik tak payah risau. Okay, whenever your data, you feel that your data, okay, has some, issues in terms of sharing, all right, for example, it's confidential, okay, in terms of privacy, for example, if you share, it will somehow threaten, okay, certain, the security, keselamatan negara, for example, all right, or the research area, for example, all right, perhaps if there is a risk, okay, in you sharing the data, for example, yes, you can make it close. Yeah. However, it is a good practice for us to indicate the data availability. Okay. So, yeah. So if you have done the research and then you cannot share the data, so that definitely the librarian, if they help you, okay, to capture all this data, all right, in a data repository, they have to create a statement, a metadata element in terms of data availability. Okay, so this is the mantra that we, that the open science, I would say, thought leaders and practitioners, say, because of course we want to encourage people to share data. Yeah, so anyhow, there are various issues, concerns about sharing. So this is what, all right, that has been advocated. Okay, fair data, right? Findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. Okay, open in order to foster the reusability and to accelerate research. Okay, but they should be close to safeguard the privacy of the subject, the privacy of the, of the research group itself. Yeah. Okay. So none of these principles necessitate data being open for free. All right. So open data is not about, freely data that is free of, whatsoever. All right. Okay, so this is about being transparent, being open about your research. So if the data is not available, data availability statement will be very, very encouraging. All right. So people know that there is data available, but somehow the data is confidential, and perhaps contact person and all that, or maybe not contact person because the research group, for example, okay, will be described in the record of science of that particular project, for example. Okay. All right, benefits and challenges. I have talked about it quite a lot, quite often. Okay, but basically, researchers in general, all right, this is what we capture, okay, in the stakeholder meeting, and also I have also done, a prelim study on the readiness of scientists to embrace open science. Actually, researchers, they want open science because they want to be more visible. They practice open science. Those who are practicing, those who knows about open science, they feel that open science can actually lead to them achieving global impact. They will be known. Okay, so it is more about reputation. They will have global visibility. Okay, for example, in terms of not being able to replicate previous studies. That's why some, people in certain disciplines, they do practice this openness. Okay, and science is all about transparency. That is a core, the core value of science. All right. So when we talk about transparency, it will promote, citizen trust and also participation in science. We can also, people from the media, for example, because the information is transparent, they can transparent, and also it is made known to the point that even the public can understand. Yeah. So it is not just about, for example, when we talk about your research, you have a research output in the form of paper, for example. All right. So there are actually practices that can help the general public to understand your research, what you wrote in the paper, for example, in the form of having a video abstract. So you can talk about your research in about 3 minutes, for example. People have been doing this on social media, buat TikTok dan sebagainya. So this is something that can actually add value, okay, to promote, the scientists talk about their research to laymen, to the public in layman's term. Media pun senang nak capture, for example, and media can report it well. Okay? So in the end, the problem that it aimed to address is actually about the speed. Okay, because we want the speed of the research, publishing earlier, for example, without waiting for the paper to actually be published. All right, it can speed up new discoveries. This has actually been demonstrated during the pandemic. Okay, that's why people have been talking about, okay, cepat juga dapat vaksin dan sebagainya, because all these people who are actually doing research, okay, on vaccine, and they do share their information and also the publications that they have, okay, as preprints and on preprint servers. All right, so I have actually incorporated all the benefits of open science. This is from various literature. Yeah. All right. And when we talk about open access, publishing in open access journal, there have been research, banyak dah research kata if you publish open access, if you share, it can actually increase your citations and improve your H index. Actually, these are some of the benefits that open science can offer to scientists, to researchers. All right. Okay. All right. Okay, one thing about open science, open science practice, banyak sangat open science practice. Depends on the library, on the scientist. But this is actually what open science thought leaders are promoting. That collaboration, international collaboration, national collaboration actually is an open science practice. So when you collaborate with your international collaborators, all right, so you need to be transparent with the data that you collect, with how you conduct the research in Malaysia, for example, all right. So this actually foster open science when you are involved in international collaboration, yeah, because they will scrutinize, everybody will scrutinize each other's work, right? When you are involved working with an international lab, for example, even at the national level. Okay, a little bit about the study that I did in 2019 towards beginning of 2020, where we sample researchers from public universities. Okay, but most of the findings, we got it from research universities. All right. So if you look at why the reasons of why science should be open, it is actually in line with what science is about: scientific rigor, about societal impact, ethics, fairness, efficiency. So they do agree this. All right. Okay, they do agree this. But anyhow, it differs actually. All right, there are still researchers that feel that in terms of, let's say, ethics, little or not. I'm not sure the reason why, because this is just a survey. Yeah, we cannot capture the reasons why. All right, but somehow when we talk about reasons why science should not be open, okay, we can actually see the difference. Okay, in terms of the various reasons. And what is being, assessed or gauged as to a great extent and somewhat to a great extent is on the lack of incentives. Okay, so scientists, they feel that this is the most important barrier, I would say, among them. Not practicing openness or transparency in communicating their research, because these practices are not being, recognized or given merit by their organization. Yeah. Okay. All right. Other barriers are such as danger and potential misuse, low quality, for example, to the fact that some researchers do write, some notes in terms of equating openness, open access publishing as being predatory. All right. So this is something that I believe, at the institutional level, there need to be some sort of engagement with the researchers. If, let's say, they talk about openness, open science practices, publishing in open access journals as being low quality, for example, as being predatory, this is something that we need to address, right? Because if somehow this thought, is in them, it is difficult, okay, for an institution to go forward, all right, in open science practices. Okay, Puan Yusrina tanya, is this a barrier? Okay, what is it? Okay, I found a question on the net. Why engage in open science when structures and personal opportunities for merit and career advancement may reward the traditional way? Itulah dia masalahnya. That's it. Okay, so that's why. All right. That is a focus on, research assessment based on the San Francisco Declaration of Research Assessment. So saya percaya ramai yang masih lagi perhaps they are not aware of this. Okay, that research assessment, all right, should not be based on based on research output lah, publication output. All right. Okay. Yeah. Opportunities for merit and career advancement, reward the traditional. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's how we do it now. Okay. It's just basically on a research output that is tangible, that is something that is explicit. Okay. You do not actually merit your researchers based on the tacit, knowledge that they produce. That can be captured lah, maksud saya. Memang ada tacit knowledge tapi it's in there, but tacit knowledge that can be captured, for example, Puan Yusrina, all right, I would like to suggest this, okay? You might want to consider offering a human library program for your university. All right, where you invite researchers, okay, to talk, or maybe you invite researchers and see who want to borrow these researchers lah. So the researcher can be a book. So who wants to borrow this researcher? Dia buatlah nak borrow researcher ni kan. You make a session for the researcher, for the book, okay, to talk about research, to talk about anything that they have authority in. So for example, if contohnya lah, kalau lah tadi macam cikgu kata, Brother Ahmad kata macam I ni authoritative or whatever about open science. So I can be a book. If I were a book, I can be a book on open science. Maksud saya macam tu lah, tapi bukanlah. Maksudnya saya bukan buku open science, you see. So this is something that perhaps can be done. An initiative like this that can actually relate to, capturing the tacit knowledge, and also this particular human library, okay, can be a resource, okay, for your own collection. But you have to be very selective in identifying who are these people that are authoritative in their bidang, not only in their research area, but in their own practice, or perhaps in their own, the credibility and the authority of this person. Okay, so you can actually capture that. All right, and give certain merits for this particular human library. This is one example, just one example, all right, that has not been done, okay, in the context of academics library in Malaysia. So if there is some information, informal way of communicating that can be given merit, yeah, and make it visible, I believe it will definitely foster career advancement. All right. If not in the university, it can be this particular person will be visible to the public. Okay, will be visible to the industry that they serve. All right. It is not just within the university. Maksud saya macam tu lah. All right. Yes, memang betul. This is the issue. If this is the issue, then it is sad lah, because we are communicating, our research, the way we share our research, the way we practice, disseminating is just because of a personal agenda, for example, okay, or just because we want, because of KPI, for example, right? Yeah. So hopefully, we have researchers, all right, who believe that their open transparency practices will actually lead to them building, okay, their own reputation ethically, in their own research area. All right. Okay, so I hope that's it. That's my answer. Maybe we can discuss that further. Okay. All right. So again, apa dia challenges? Okay, if you want to practice open science, what will be the challenges? Okay, the first challenge that we can see from this, all right, this involve about 200 plus researchers, okay, from various universities, and most of them, they are in research universities, because those who do not understand open science, all right, it is being dropped from the survey. Okay, so these are people who acknowledge that they understand, okay, open science. So in terms of challenges or barriers, they feel that budget and funding constraint, okay, there's not enough budget or even funding, for example, if they want to practice open science. And this is very often in terms of APC, kebanyakannya, and then research grant dan sebagainya. Okay, another one is the lack of proper infrastructure. All right. So very often the universities, they feel that the universities are not ready developing the infrastructure for them, especially to deposit their data. Yeah, because in Malaysian academic libraries, most of us we are in the midst of developing data repository. Yeah, and also certain institutional repository, their policy is actually to restrict access. Right, you have to log in and all that. All right, so they feel that there is a lack of proper infrastructure. Okay, and also like what Puan Yusrina cakap tadi. Okay, fear and uncertainties for career development is also an issue lah. It is being incorporated here actually. Okay, they are fear, they are not certain if let's say whatever they do can actually foster career development atau mungkin it is not being merited and all that. Perhaps they feel that they are at risk, okay, in terms of at a competitive advantage, they are at risk because of sharing. Okay, so these are actually being captured in this survey. Okay, all right. So let me share a little bit about the priority topics. What have been discussed worldwide? Okay, I have the privilege of being steering committee in the International Science Council, and the project is on the principle for scientific publishing. So when we first, met, the International Science Council would like us to focus only on, on the future. What does the future hold for scientific publishing? All right, and then when we start discussing, okay, about this. Incorporating various people, engaging with various stakeholders, we do see that there is a very, very high possibility that the future towards scientific publishing are being incorporated and listed here. Okay, so this is the future. All right, so I have here, okay, 8. All right. I would say strategies. These are actually the principles, not strategies. These are the principles, okay, in the future for scientific publishing. All right. The future of scientific publishing is to open the record of science. Open the record of science. So where is your record of science? IIUM. Where is your record of science? You have it? You have it in your IR, but you have everything. All right. So some of our records of science, they are captured in various citation databases, kan? And they are owned by certain company. Okay, our record of science, for example, UM, okay, you publish in WAS, your record of science is in WAS, but you have all your records of science in your own repository, for example, in your own KM platform, for example. Do you have it? All right. Do you have all your publications or your record of science published in national journals in various national platforms, for example, in any of your scholarly, I would say scholarly KM platform, for example? Do you have it? All right. So this is going to be the future. Okay. So if you do not have it, so the world will have it. The world will have it, but it will be everywhere, and make it open. Okay. So it will be everywhere and we make it open. All right. So this is going to be the future of scientific publishing. So it will be, the first will be in terms of, the first will be in the form of affordable, universal, open access. So this is the first principle. Okay, so there should be a universal open access to the record of science. Universal open access. Wow. So where are we going to see this? All right. So hopefully MOSP nanti akan simpan lah, ya, akan capture lah untuk the records of science for Malaysia. All right. Okay. So there should be a universal open access to the record of science, both for authors and also for the readers, with no barriers, okay? Especially, those who, no barriers in terms of the ability to pay, for example, right? In terms of language or geographical, barrier, for example, or even institutional privilege, right? Meaning that it will be open. The record of science will be open. The record of science. So the record of published science is an important source of ideas. The record of published science is an important observation. The record of published science is evidence. The record of published science also have data, okay, that can actually give fuel to us, give inspiration to us to do further inquiry. So this is what the first principle is about affordable, universal, open access. All right, so this is going to be the future. We envisage that this is going to be the future. And also the second principle is about, the scientific publication should carry open license that permit the reuse, okay, of the information, that permits, for example, text mining, that will also permits data mining, for example. All right, so this is the second principle. Okay, the first and the second principle ni memang I believe the librarians, you do understand this and you're also doing this. So hopefully there will be a universal open access lah. All right, maybe you might want to tengok balik to what extent you have certain restricted access to your own record of science. Okay. All right. Okay, the third principle is about peer review. Okay, we understand this. Researchers, they do understand this. Okay, rigorous, ongoing, timely peer review. Right, sekarang ni kita faham peer review takes time, banyak sangat peer review ni, especially during the pandemic, okay, especially when so many people would like to publish and all that. So this is the future, that there will be more timely peer review, to the point that there have been various platforms that actually facilitate open peer review. All right. Kemungkinan besar jika librarians also want to capture, okay, the peer review report of a particular paper umpamanya, kalau ada, you can also if the researchers wants to share kan, boleh je. I'm not sure, to what extent our researchers wants to share, all right? But there have been platforms that actually, publish the open peer review. For example, macam kita simpan kan the peer review report, all right, of our paper. Maybe we want, and then how we address the rebuttal table and all that, how we address the comments made by reviewers. Okay, so this is actually one output of our research. All right, I mean the publication output, it is not just the publication but also about the peer review comment. So this is actually, I would say, wonderful, okay, if there are people who are courageous enough, okay, to share this kind of output, okay, in a repository, or perhaps in their own website, for example. Okay, it depends, perhaps in their own ResearchGate punya space, for example, it depends. Okay, another principle, that the data, concurrent publication of data and evidence lah. Yeah, so this is now becoming a norm, I would say. Okay, I believe among our researchers who are here today, some of you might have experienced this when you submit an article, and then some journals, okay, will require you to also submit the data or share the data elsewhere. All right, on a data repository, Figshare, for example. Okay, even if you do not share, I'm not sure to what extent it is being practiced by journal editors or the editorial board members. I have experience where when I submit an article, the editor come back to me and require me, okay, to submit all supplementary materials and also the data sets, because the reviewer would like to take a look at it. Yeah. Okay, so this is becoming a practice, I would say, in open science, where when researchers submit an article to be peer reviewed, they will also deposit their research data and other supplementary materials, for example, like codes, or perhaps code books, for example, all right, as part of the publication output. Okay, all right. Maintaining the record of science, respecting. Maintaining the record of science. I think this one is very, very relevant to librarians. Okay, preservation of the scientific record, I would say. Okay, what I want to say, I'm not sure whether the publishers are with us, tapi tak apalah, because this one, this also will be available on Facebook. Kan? It is like this, okay? So there must be a coordinated network, I would say, among researchers and also their institutions, okay, to preserve the scientific record. Macam saya kata tadi lah, you have your own record of science and you make it open, okay? All right, and it should be governed by the scientific community. Governed by the scientific community, governed by their institution, and not by commercial entities. So we at the ISC, in this particular steering committee, is looking at this possibility. Because if people are actually accepting this idea, all right, and the scientific community comes together, take care of their journals, the institution, the institutions also, provide a strong support, okay, for scientific community journals, all right, it will be wonderful. Okay, so even at Malaysian level, for example, there will be, I would say, there will be a different a facelift lah to my journal, for example, or even my site. Okay, for those of you who have been using my journal, my site, and publishing in national journals. Okay? And also publishing in regional journals that are affordable, open access but also affordable. All right. Okay. So then the next principle is about respecting the needs of disciplines and regions, adaptability to new opportunities, and accountability to the scientific community. So these are all the principles that are being, emphasized to the point that the policymakers, that institutions are hopefully there will be people who can talk who can talk to the institution and also to policymakers about the need for us to actually address the issue in making science open and transparent, all right, by looking at other possible ways, okay, to communicate our research output and not just based on the gold standard that is publishing in journals. Okay? Meaning that, the gold standard is the right way, but there are actually other possibilities, okay, that we can go ahead, okay, in making science open. All right. Okay. So the report is available online. Opening the record of science is available online. Hopefully, we can also capture this information, catalog this buku, for example, and then make it as disseminate this, okay, to our research community. All right, it's a very interesting report, published by ISC. Okay, so in this report also there are various ways that ISC suggests for the options for reform. Okay, in terms of normalizing, this can be done by the researchers at the researchers level. Make it a norm, make it a practice, for open science. In terms of develop and implement, it is at the institutional level. Yeah, okay. In Malaysia, I see that this is done by normally RMC, Research Management Center, and also the library, all right, with the support of research groups. In terms of governance, okay, the governance at the global level, it has been, advocated and recommended by UNESCO, by ISC, by various open science initiatives, okay, at the national level. All right, so you can actually read about the options for reform, but I would like to, in the context of KM, kan sebab most of our participants here are librarians. Yeah, I can see that they are librarians. All right, it is important for them, okay, to be part of the people who normalize open science. Okay, not just develop and implement, not just develop a repository, for example, a platform agnostic discovery service, for example, all right. Yang I letakkan bintang-bintang tu, okay, it can be done by the at the individual level lah. Actually, you can champion it in terms of governance. Thought leaders on open science can actually move forward towards advocating open science. But when we talk about librarians' involvement in open science, all right, you can actually, advocate the use of preprint servers, for example, to communicate research. In your part, for example, you can always have Normalize. I'm looking at Normalize, the second star there. You can always go for overlay process. Overlay process ni maksudnya macam ni, ya. Bila dah ada overlay process is always making sure that the bibliographic information, that is the record of science for a particular researcher, for an institute, is being created. Okay. Yeah, so you don't just go for records that are in your IR. All right, ini contoh lah, ya, contoh yang kita boleh buat lah. You don't just go for capturing records that are in your IR, but you can also capture records that about on your institution. I mean, by your institution, by researchers from your institution that are being deposited elsewhere. Right, because our researchers, not all of them, they think highly about our IR. Betul tak? I'm so sorry to say this lah, because some researchers, they do not see that their own institutional repository as a reputational building platform. Buat apa saya nak letak situ? Well, librarian letak contoh macam tu, kan? They do not that because it is not being asked. They are not being mandated. They do not do it because people don't ask them. Okay, but they do it because the publisher asked them. They put their data in Zenodo, in Figshare, because the editor, the reviewer asked them, right? So they do it because people ask for their own benefit, because they want something to happen to their publication. So this is where actually, at the institution level, you can actually see what is the process going to be in terms of making the record of science open. All right, the record of science. So you can actually see your record of science is there, but you don't deposit the data there. You just put a link, okay, to the data, because the data will have a DOI. Okay, the preprint, for example, will have a DOI. It is not an issue for example, if you have that in your policy lah, to actually create a record of science, okay, for your institution. Although the publications or the output is deposited elsewhere. Okay, so normalize the overlay process. It can be done slowly, like take a little, perlahan-perlahan, but in the end you can achieve something out of it. All right. Okay, and another focus that I would like to communicate to my because you're looking at the KM aspect, and to my librarian colleague, yeah, is about. Now, it is a movement towards creating a record of versions, not a version of record. Okay, creating a record of version. Okay, dekat dalam contoh, saya bagi contoh, dalam OPEC ataupun mungkin dekat IR, alright, you create a version of record. Alright, version of record. Record dalam bentuk bibliographic, record dalam bentuk label display, record dalam bentuk OPEC. You see, so you are creating a version of record. All right, but in making, in practicing open science, all right, you should go for creating a record of version. Okay, so you have a record, and this record is about a paper published in an open access journal, for example, because it is open access. Perhaps you do not want. You might want, it depends on your policy. Perhaps you want to download that paper, okay, and put it in your IR, or maybe you do not want to do that. Okay, just put a link, okay, when people search your library catalog, and then they go for the link, and the link is somewhere else in Nature, for example. All right, in Nature journal, for example. All right, so if you go to an option to reform open science, you will also require, or perhaps the researcher will also be willing, okay, to create a record of version. For example, the version that is sent for peer review, the version that is sent, the acceptance version, for example. All right, so that it is very transparent. All right, you capture everything. What are the changes, and then you have the version of the you might want to have the reviewer report, making it open, and also supplementary materials, for example, relating to that paper, data sets, codes, and all that. So it is actually a record of versions and not going for a version of record. So we have been talking about it, and this is quite a challenge. Okay, it requires a lot of work, but with the researchers participating and creating the record of version, that will be very, very wonderful. All right, and also again, a reform incentive away from bibliometrics. This is what people have been at the steering group committee and even at the recent International Science Council annual meeting, where the issue of practicing open science, especially in universities, not in research institutions, but in universities, will be a challenging if the university does not still incentivize research performance by using bibliometric indicator. For example, like journal impact factor lah, contohnya. All right, publishing in this, for example. Okay, all right. So this is some of the options for reform, and you can read it. Okay, from the report. Okay, this is a bit extreme lah. This is just an extreme, a statement, I would say, but it might be true because people have been actually thinking about it, that the journal is dead. All right, okay, and most nowadays, even the research funder and policymakers in various countries, they are actually looking for a platform, a collaborative platform, to publish, to publish all the research output, okay, in that platform. All right, so it is not based, it is not at the journal level. Okay, all right. Okay, let me just spend 10 more minutes. All right, and then we'll go to Q&A. All right, capturing Tacit knowledge, and this is interesting. All right, so this is what I managed to get, okay, and to share with you that. All right, so the first person who talked about KM, Polanyi, said that, okay, Tacit knowledge is permanently Tacit. It's not easy, okay? It cannot be converted to codified language knowledge, but it is not what Nonaka say. All right, Tacit knowledge can be converted into explicit knowledge. All right, that is a model. All right, and with the technology now, okay, the technology can actually afford, all right, okay, us to convert Tacit into explicit. Okay, and there are evidences that. So in my area, in library and information science, we have a lot of evidence, okay, to support embedded documentation and embodied information practices, okay, in a form of, for example, the reason why is about using linked data, for example, all right, and whatever I have mentioned to you, the various platforms that we can use and capture, not only the conventional scientific output in the form of paper, but also the various output that leads to publishing the paper. For example, other supplementary materials, and also a video abstract, or perhaps a poster or infographic that can capture, the research so that it can be comprehensible, okay, to people outside the discipline. Other researchers, for example, all right, so that other researchers might be interested or might want to collaborate with you. So it will involve, collaboration, for example, with people outside your research area, and also policymakers, engagement with the public. All right. Okay, so simple example, for example, what is being left out in the paper, because the paper, you can't say much, right? It's restricted by number of words. So what is left out in the report or in the paper? So your IR, your digital repository, or whatever repository or registry that you have, okay, in relation to you managing your knowledge, all right? it can become an integral to the scientific workflow. All right, so we have seen this, yeah. People, researchers supplementing their research output with videos, with Instagram Live, for example, all right, talking about their research, yeah. And all these are being incorporated in the open science framework on how to document and archive research materials. And it is not just the gold standard research materials in the form of a journal. Okay, all right. So so this is what people in the area of library and information science talk about open knowledge and how to connect this to Tacit and make Tacit knowledge open. So if you can see from here, okay, all right. If you can see from here, yeah, if you make Tacit knowledge as a personal knowledge, yeah, so it will involve the knowledge being proprietary, meaning that it is only owned by you, it is only owned by your institution. All right. So if you want to make it open, you might want to involve, okay, number 3 there, meaning that there is a platform where you can actually socialize and talk, communicate about the knowledge that you produce. Okay, so that is an open strategy. You make it close, but you make it open through socializing lah. People ask you, okay, you ni macam contohnya macam for example, I'm not sure whether we have this or not. I've not seen one in Malaysia. We are talking about people communicating with you to get your proprietary knowledge. Okay, so and also you socializing with your user, for example, in the form of comments or feedback about your proprietary knowledge. Okay, all right. But if we move towards code, okay, the Tacit knowledge, okay, you need to build a platform for it. All right. For example, you have your own repository. We are going for a repository now. Yeah. Okay, and if there is a security, but you still you build an open platform, you build a platform, all right, that is a coding strategy, but then again you still think about the security aspect, meaning that in this case, okay, people want to get your proprietary knowledge, but they still have to get to you back. All right, yeah, so they have to get to you back. Nanti dia nak download ke apa, and then dia kena communicate ke, ada intermediary ke umpamanya, contohnya macam dekat IR lah sekarang kan, okay, they need to put in their password ke dan sebagainya. Alright, so that is a proprietary strategy lah in terms of the security. However, if you go from 1 to directly 4, okay, you need to adopt an open policy for that. Alright. Okay, so there are various mandates that you can always refer to in order to adopt, a bond open policy. Okay, so in terms of developing IR, for example, okay, dalam sekarang ni kita banyak at the institutional level kita develop repositories, right? Can be paper repository, thesis repository, data repository, for example. Yeah. Okay. So definitely there will be a policy lah that you have to, you need a policy to implement. Okay. Sharing. So you need to be familiar with the various bond open policy. For example, you can have a mandate. It can be an institutional mandate. It can be an opt-out, okay, opt-in, opt-out policy. All right. For orphan works, perhaps you can make it open. You see. So in terms of implementing this open knowledge or open science, okay, for research output, you need to be, you need to develop this bond open policy. And most libraries do have this, an open access policy. All right. But however, we are not talking about open access where people have to request from the library or people have to request from the copyright owner, for example. Okay, to the point that it will not speed up, okay, the discovery or the utilizing the knowledge. Okay, so this is something that perhaps need to be considered, all right, in implementing open science practices. All right, so the last few slides is just some ideas on how it could be practiced, how open science could be practiced. Okay, so yes, we have this taxonomy that can foster further understanding about what open science is and developed by Foster. So these are some of the areas, okay, that researchers or information professionals that can, or even institution and policymakers can, look into, all right, the various aspects of open science, all right. So open science, open access, as open data, it is the way to go. Okay, and some aspect of open science in relation to open metrics and measuring impact in the open science environment. Okay, all right, so on, so forth. Okay, so open science practices that are exclusively acknowledged by our researchers that involved in my study earlier. Okay, the one that they exclusively practice is publishing in an open access journals. Okay, and also they disseminate their papers to other scientists in their research group or in the same research discipline. Okay, and also they collaborate. So when we talk about the open science practices that you do, so okay, I publish in open science journal, I disseminate, I share my research papers to WhatsApp, to my research group, for example. I collaborate with other researchers, okay, from other disciplines, from international institutions and sebagainya. So these are the common practices that we do. All right. However, there are various open science practices that a researcher can demonstrate. For example, you collaborate with funders, you collaborate with industry. Collaboration with industry is now becoming an important practice, okay, for open science. Okay, so you do outreach engagement, you talk about research to the public, and all this should be captured. All these incidences and events actually can become a record of science, all right, that should be captured, okay, because we are able to use technology nowadays, all right. Gender equality is one of open science practices, all right. So because in open science, okay, open science is inclusive. We do not want to leave anyone behind. Okay, so in the context of research nowadays, there have been various research that talks about, the female researchers, they are actually being left behind in terms of, citations, for example. Okay, in terms of there have been research about about gender equality in terms of impact, in terms of getting citations, for example. The females, researchers are not getting enough citations and they cannot get more impact, okay, in terms of building their career. But in the context of open science, it is about gender equality. All right, we do not want to equate a particular, a group of scientists or researchers just because of certain, gold standard that are being implemented in a non-transparent and in a closed way of communicating research. Okay, exclusively, publishing in paywall journals. Okay. All right, so when we talk about how can it be practiced, academic libraries and open science, it is, the various guidelines, okay, has actually indicated that academic libraries is an important, party, okay, or important stakeholder in terms of advocating open science. All right, so this has actually explicitly being indicated in UNESCO documents, in OCD, International Science Council, for example, and also in the guideline, Malaysian Open Science Platform, where we do involve academic libraries to the point that they are being, trained, all right, as our potential or future data stewards. Okay, so in terms of rules of academic libraries at the developed and implement level, this is what they can do. Okay, they can develop open access policies and roadmaps at least at their institutional level. All right, they can contribute to the development of research data management at their institutional level. Okay, they can even host the RDM because they have the experience and the capacity to host a data repository. All right, so extend the repository, the IR that you have, to be an RD, research data repository, or even host a separate research data repository. All right. So librarians, okay, in their capacity as data stewards, they can also train and support researchers to open up their research, yeah, and open up their workflow. And also libraries, okay, with the support of the institution, can always, and also mandate from the institution, can always provide support to open science infrastructures and tools. If you can't develop, okay, you can always, arrange for the open science infrastructure and tools to be, to be accessible to your researchers. All right. Some libraries have this in their agenda. For example, to have their institution, to have their universities present in Figshare, for example. All right, or perhaps subscribe to, or advocate F1000 research or F1000 platform, for example. Okay, in part of their providing support to their researchers. Okay, so where are we now? Yeah, this one I always share in my talk lah, in my advocacy talk. Alright, daripada tahun 2019 when I first talk about this sampai sekarang pun Malaysia tak ada lagi. Okay, no data available for Malaysia. The last talk with UTM, I think, end of last year. Singapore ada 4 saja. Sekarang Singapore dah ada 7. Alright, so yeah, hopefully we'll get from IIUM, for example, to be the first, organizations that have a data repository registered in this r3data.org. So shows that we have not actually registered our repository, no data for Malaysia. Okay, so how should we normalize open science? All right, in fact, this is something that I have talked even at ASM, we have to mandate open access science. Try to mandate this first. Some academic libraries have actually mandated it for the university. Push for open data sharing, provide open science technical support and advisory service. Yes, okay, libraries have started doing it. IIUM also have their a few librarians. I understand that you have a few librarians who have completed the data stewardship for open science program, okay, and actually provide all the support, develop open science infrastructure and roadmap, foster and create incentives, okay, develop systems to somehow reduce fears and reward openness. So this is something that still open for further discussion, all right? People are still not into this, okay? Incentivizing, how do you actually incentivizing open science practices and practice open scholarly communication, okay? It is not just about publishing, but communicate about research output to the general public, for example, all right? Do outreach, activities to promote, not so much to promote, but to communicate the findings of your research so that various parties who have stake at it, okay, will benefit from it. Okay, all right. So to ensure that researchers are ready, the university at the institutional level should support a culture change. Okay, perhaps there will be a program, all right, like this. For example, this is a starter, okay, that can actually, translate into a training, a capacity building program for your researchers or for your librarians. Sustained training support network from research performing institution. Yes, okay. So the librarians who have involved in the data stewardship programs, okay, make sure that you are still connected to your colleagues, to your peers from other universities. See what they are doing for their universities, for example, right? Because they are actually leading towards, for example, the 5 RUs. See what they are doing. Perhaps you can replicate or perhaps collaborate, for example, all right, with them. Yeah, in terms of opening up the record of science in terms of the various overlay process. All right. You might not want to start first, but see what they have done or where you can actually contribute. Okay. Perhaps in the coming up with the guideline and all that. Guideline, for example, guideline in overlay process. I was actually talking about overlay process and also creating the record of version. So this is something that is a big possibility that the librarians can go to. And also capacity, strengthen the training capacity, address current skills, content gaps on the practical implementation. Okay, this is something that perhaps, a little higher in terms of building capacity of our early career researchers, especially to implement open science, because we should understand the modern researchers, the younger researchers nowadays, they are practicing it, all right? But somehow they have these fears that, okay, if I do this, okay, what will it benefit me, okay, in terms of my career, for example, yeah? Okay. All right, so the three phrases that I put there: policy is easy, mandates are easy, culture change is not. So this is what we have always said in terms of implementing. When we start with open access, dulu pun masalah juga. Policy easy, mandates are easy. But until today pun masalah juga nak come up with the policy and also mandates. What more to change the culture? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, these are some of the questions that I have listed here. This is actually meant for researchers who are perhaps in this, in this talk. Basically, these are questions that you might want to ask yourself. Okay, whether you have certain pengisian lah in relation to, towards open scholarship or sharing. All right. So I don't think I want to go through this, but Sister Fatin, you can always share my slide, okay, with our colleagues there. Yeah. Okay. So this is basically something that you want to ask yourself. All right. In terms of gauge your readiness to practice open science. Okay. So this is just my last comment, my last statement about normalizing open science. Okay, this is what I see. To have open science and to normalize, to make open science a norm, to make open science a practice, it is about having a research culture and also infrastructure that support sharing. Okay, that support sharing. We should have this. Culture kena ada, infrastructure kena ada. So what does this require to have this culture and also this infrastructure? It requires a strong leadership at the institutional level. Kena ada thought leaders yang orang nak bercakap pasal ni, kena ada somebody yang can actually, talk, all right, at the university level. Some universities have started to develop their own open science center. For example, University Malaya. Okay, so we should have this. We have to open up with new possibilities for our researchers to communicate their research. All right, apart from just publishing, for example, in the gold standard journals. Promote transparency, promote openness, okay, because in the end, if you read more about open science, okay, in the context of reproducibility research and ethics, all right, this can actually promote or advocate ethics and integrity in the researchers, all right, okay, so, and also at the researcher level, from the very beginning of the research process sekarang ni, dia dah boleh lagi fikir macam mana to actually practice openness and transparency. Even among our PhD students or full research students, we should include this in part of the training, I would say. Sekarang ni, training of PhD students should incorporate all this transparency and openness. I hope this will become something new lah in the training and educating our PhD student. Alright, dalam research method pun boleh juga cerita ni, ataupun alright, other seminars that we can involve our PhD postdoc student. Alright, because the future lies in them. They are going to do it in the future. Okay, so they are the future researchers, the future professors. Right, so they should be competitive, okay, with their colleagues at the international level in terms of practicing open science. Yeah. Okay, so achieving open science will require persistent, coordinated actions on part of the research enterprise stakeholders. Yes, you cannot do it alone. Yeah, you have to do it together. Okay, Assalamualaikum ya. Sains terbuka menggagas kegasaran tanpa kececeran. This is what we have shared tadi through that FMT video. Yeah, okay, so terima kasih banyak-banyak saya nak ucapkan kepada UIA for your invitation. Actually, I'm very glad that you invited me, because this is my first advocacy done outside RU, outside research universities. After the launch of MOSP, after the launching of the Malaysian Open Science Platform. So thank you very much, Dato Prof, Norbik, Cikgu, and also my colleagues from the library for giving me this opportunity to talk a little bit about open science, and in the hope that it will trigger more discussions, future discussions, and also small initiatives at IIUM, because I know you have, IIUM has a very specific unit in KM, right, in knowledge management, and also repository. There is a connection between your KM, KM initiatives or KM implementation, and how you show this through your institutional repositories and other knowledge sharing platform. All right, but we have to understand institutional repositories is exclusively developed to disseminate research output. All right, so IR is about research output. So perhaps this is something that IIUM will take further in making, in sharing, the rich knowledge, the rich scientific output that you have, because IIUM is very unique, in terms of thesis, dissertasi, thesis tu banyak sangat collection that is non-English, that can be that is very indigenous, inclusive for various research disciplines as well. All right, being a comprehensive international university. So thank you very much, sahabat-sahabat semua. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Abrizah, for a very informative sharing. Prof, can I just read some of the questions from YouTube and as well as Zoom?
Boleh, I can read some.
All right. First question from on YouTube from Dr. Muslim Ismail. I believe Dr. Muslim Ismail alias Ahmad is from UITM Kelantan, a senior librarian. His question is, what is your forecast of open science in Malaysia in the next 5 years?
Forecast. Oh, okay. Okay, macam ni ya. I cannot really. I'm not forecasting anything. Okay, if you want to, I'm not forecasting anything, but I do conduct a study now. On the scholarly communication behavior of early career researchers. Okay, the scholarly communication behavior on early career researchers. All right, and this involves 8 countries. 8 countries. Okay, so Malaysia is a representative from a developing country. All right, an emerging country in scientific, knowledge. In research lah, in scientific knowledge production. Okay, so other countries that involved in this is China, UK, US, and then a few countries in Russia, and then France, Spain, and Poland. Okay, so Malaysia is unique in the case. Okay, let me tell you what actually it has not completed. We are going to complete the 3rd phase of data collection, end of June. Okay, but I can share some information with you, Dr. Muslim. Okay, our early career researchers have been practicing openness and transparency in their research, especially those graduating from abroad. They have been doing this. All right. So if we talk about 5 years now, where are they in 5 years now? They are now in their 1st and 2nd year of their career. They are not senior lecturers like at universities. Okay, so I involve about 20 very prolific early career researchers in various disciplines, and they are actually slowly practicing openness and transparency, especially in outreach. So maknanya bila dia dah buat paper dan sebagainya, dia tweet, ada yang tweet, they disseminate, but they do not have such platform in their university. Okay, they share their data in Figshare, Zenodo, GitHub dan sebagainya. All right, so I always say that, okay, where are they in 5 years' time now? They cannot do anything to promote change. At present, as early career researchers, they confess they cannot do anything to promote change, but they are just practicing in the case that one fine day, okay, the institution will actually merit the transparency and openness practices. All right. So now Malaysia, the research universities are going in the process of developing their data repository, and we do not know, okay, whether the data repository will be populated or not. Who is going to populate that? We have learned this from open access repository dulu. Bila kita start dalam tahun 2007, we develop all this IR, but it's not easy to get the IR deposited because the researchers are very cautious to share. Itu baru share tentang paper. We are talking about now open science share about various research output, right? Yeah? Okay. So then again, to answer your question, I cannot forecast anything, but okay, what we can do is, okay, to make this, to normalize this. Okay. Kadang-kadang kan dalam konteks sesebuah negara tu, if it is being mandated, ya, kita akan ikutlah. Macam juga sekarang ni kan, it is being mandated to publish in such journal, so we ikut kan, betul tak? So if this being mandated, that we should also or encourage or given merit to practice open access, I believe that one, okay, that particular, you know, strategy. Open science is being encouraged or mandated, for example, you are giving some merits to your researchers for practicing open science, right? So I believe if that is the way to go, then open science in the next 5 years akan menjadilah, akan lebih, you know, it will be more rancak. Okay, but 5 years is a short year lah, because when we talk about the future of scientific publishing, we do it, you know, we do it for 10 years. We can see in 10 years time, okay, it will be you know, further implemented, but we can see slowly, okay, you know, funders, research funders, major research funders macam Horizon 2020 or perhaps the Wellcome Trust, all right, they require researchers who get funding from them to actually practice open science lah. You deposit your data dekat Horizon 2020 platform or Wellcome Trust platform. You make use of the various preprints to share your data early. The one that I involved in, Alfred, saya ni pun barulah saja practice this open science lah in terms of data sharing. Okay, our research funder first they require us to publish. Okay, they require us to publish, but you publish your results, but we don't want you to publish your results in the library science journal, you know. We want you to publish your results in journals multidisciplinary. You see? Because they want that particular findings to be disseminated to more and more scientists, not just people from your own discipline. All right. So after 2 years, okay, we have started publishing and all that. They said, okay, make your research transparent. Okay, but they do not tell us what to do. Yeah, so we have to think. Okay, we you know, besides submitting to a journal for review, we also submit the paper to a preprint server. Okay, so when you submit it to a reputational preprint, not any preprint server lah, okay, a reputational preprint server, so you can actually see people commenting about your work. All right, people suggesting that you should please present this work, yeah, please present your research to this conference, for example. Can you you know, can you present your can I get invitation to publish that paper also as a book chapter. You can see how this openness actually can trigger further opportunities. All right. So I believe if we do practice this, yeah, then we normalize this in a form of mandate, it can be rancak lah in the next 5 years. But next 5 years I cannot say lah forecast. Tapi kita dah nampak this is a national agenda about data sharing kan. Ya. YBKJ dah cakap ni bila dia minister Mosti dulu about data sharing, right? So you can see these funders requiring data sharing in future. We do not know. Okay, banyak pula saya bercakap. Okay, cikgu ada lagi ke?
Yes, Prof. Actually, as a question from Prof Norbik, the way assessment and competition work, for example, among Malaysian universities is almost a zero-sum game, quote unquote. For example, I don't want to share my findings because later on you will compete with me and overtake me. So how should we encourage open science in such a competitive environment?
Okay, Prof. All right. This is apa? This is what you feel, yeah, Prof. Yeah. you will use your competitive edge, yeah, if you share. Prof.
Akan timbul balik.
Yeah, Prof.
I guess that's a feeling among many people, I suppose. I mean, because the way the competition works, I think it's still like that, unfortunately now.
Yeah, I understand, Prof. But I think it is about about your discipline. I believe this is about your discipline because among my
cybersecurity,
cybersecurity, I have one participant. I think I have two participants from my research. Okay, because this is a longitudinal qualitative. Because we interview a few times, you know, so it can be considered. I follow this particular young researchers. All right. Since you know, the first time we met until now, okay, it has been 3 years. Dia kata this is the same thing, okay, in his bidang, cybersecurity. All right. So that's why we talk about fair data. Yeah. Okay. There would be, you know, some aspect of your research that you can actually share, right? But in terms of you know, research that you cannot disclose, for example, all right, data that you cannot share because of certain privacy issues, it should not be a problem, right? But it's just that, you know, assessment and competition. Assessment, what, Prof, what do you think about this, Prof? You are somebody there. You're somebody organizations that you also can, you know, you have a say, right? In terms of, you know, what I talk about, because about the issue on assessment actually somehow deter our researchers to practice open science. Prof Norbik?
Betul.
What is your input? Yeah. I tanya you pula, tak apalah.
If I am someone yang, you know, if I want to champion or to be like the forerunner in a certain field, I'll be very selective on what I want to share with people lah, because I guess that happens even internationally. Countries which are advanced, they don't necessarily easily share whatever. This is definitely more obvious in the area macam cybersecurity and so on lah, because like I said, knowledge is a weapon. If I can hack you, or if I can hack into your computers, kalau ada 10 taktik, mungkin share 6 je. Dia ada 4, I kena simpan dalam poket. Takut nanti one day you hack saya lebih teruk daripada I hack you, kind of thing. So that's the angle where I'm coming from as well. Maybe I think betul lah, like what you said. It is true in some strategic areas. I mean, some specific areas. For example, if you are doing research with intelligence or military or enforcement agencies or whatever, we cannot easily share such information or findings with anyone. Macam yalah, like I was saying, if I have 10 techniques to hack your computers, I will not share all the 10 because it may end up that, you know, I'll be at risk against you because we are friends. We are friends today, but I'm not sure whether we're going to be friends tomorrow or next year.
Yes, that's true. You don't even share the find. I mean, you do not even publish it, right? You don't even. But here we are talking about knowledge, okay, that is explicitly captured, and knowledge that can be actually coded and shared. Yeah.
Okay. I think if the advocacy of open science is in such a way in which you have room to say that memang we encourage openness, we encourage sharing, tapi ada some specific areas yang mungkin kita kena careful or that we are selective. I think if that is the concept that is being pushed forward, I completely agree with it.
Okay, thank you, Prof.
Sorry for throwing such a question.
Prof Abrizah, that is also why I said that I believe Prof Norbik's question can also be applied to RDM, because this is only the sharing of data, because I got some people informing me that they might not want to share even the data, not let alone the finished product.
Prof. Abrizah, how do you counter such a campaign with such kind of ideas, kan? What do we say to them supaya kita boleh macam condition their mind or mellow their thinking that hello, yang ni, you know, berkongsi ni satu yang bagus, digalakkan dan sebagainya. Well, some people will walk away and say, no, I'm not going to be doing that easily for all these reasons.
Okay, all right. Perhaps I can answer this in relation to Puan Yusrina punya question tadi about RDM. Okay, all right. RDM kena faham lah. It is about managing research data, managing the research data from the beginning of the research cycle, you know, the process, right? From mula-mula sekali bila dia start ada proposal dan sebagainya, funding, application and all that, to the end of you know, having the research output. But we're talking about the managing the research data, managing the research data. It is not about making the research data open. So the ownership of the research data does not lies only on the researcher tau. Some certain parties have the stake at ownership of data, especially the research funder, especially your university, kan, right? And also people in the research group. So RDM, it is not about it is not about sharing lah. It's not about sharing to the general public. It is about managing the research data. So you have it. So maknanya tak adalah the whole process only you know, ataupun you know, the research data research data plan. Yeah, you must capture the research data plan, whether there is a research data, how is the research data made available. So it has to be captured in your RDM. Alright, it is not about sharing the data. Dia bukan macam open science lah, RDM tu. But it is part of it, right? Okay. So no, RDM should be done in you know, I would say that RDM should be done lah in all research performing organizations. Yeah, it is not just about masukkan data saja dalam tu, dalam repository, right? So you might want to have the data in a repository. It's part of the RDM.
Okay, Prof, can I move to another question?
Yes.
Yes, this one is from Cik Musa Muhammad Ghazali. If I'm not mistaken, he's a senior librarian from USM. The question is, what's the next step when we already set up the committee for open science?
Okay. All right. Okay. This is what being practiced lah. When we have a committee, kan, any committee, kan, we have a committee. So there will be some tasks that the committee needs to do, right? Okay, certain tasks, certain roles, for example, who is doing what and all that, what do you wish to achieve and all that. So I would say that you need governance lah. You need some governance in terms of establish a governance, okay, for that particular committee. What does the committee needs to do? How do you go forward doing it? So you need a particular governance for that. So in terms of coming up with, you know, guidelines or policies or mandates or even the infrastructure. For example, you were talking about open science, right? So at USM, okay, you start off with advocacy, kan, Cik Musa, right? You start with awareness, advocacy. So what is the next step? All right. So you want to develop the infrastructure. You want to develop capacity building for your researchers. All right. So you feel that perhaps at USM level, you feel that, okay, to trigger, to expedite all these things, to implement all these various open science punya activities and all that, you need to have a committee. Yeah. Okay, so you need to have a committee. So from your committee barulah ada macam punca kuasa umpamanya daripada Senate umpamanya untuk you implement all this. Alright. So after you set up the committee, which I believe endorsed by the Senate, I foresee that you should develop a governance for that. Right? So
Okay, Prof. Another question from Encik Nur Kamarizal, a senior librarian from Asia University. Through your experience, what is the best platform to host the data whereby the FAIR principle could be implemented? Openness and control of access or data.
Okay. I don't have that much experience in terms of platform. I do not have that much experience in terms of the best platform because, as I mentioned to you, it is new for me to practice, data sharing. All right, I have only initiated one through my research group, with my collaborators. All right. So if you look at the various initiatives or the repositories that research performing organizations have, they, for example, universities in Singapore, University in Singapore, I visited 3 of them, looking at how they implement their RDM, but in the end, their RDM, there is a repository, all right, and they make the repository open, in cases where the data can be shared, all right. So this is what I foresee. You can, you talk about the best platform, you can always say, Figshare boleh kata dia punya best platform, Zenodo pun boleh juga. So these are all the global platform, all right, Zenodo, Figshare, and some platform to a particular type of data. For example, codes, in GitHub, for example. All right. So when we talk about the best platform for your own university, how successful have you been with your current IR? Kamarizal dari universiti mana?
Actually, saya baru tukar ke universiti baru. Just kita baru nak membangunkan platform platform tu lah. Mana kita nak cari platform yang sesuai kita nak control data apa semua tu lah.
You want to
kita belum apa-apa lagi. Mana kita baru start pun belum lagi, kita baru awareness baru.
Okay, all right. So when we talk about developing the best platform, you have to actually look at your capacity juga kan? How much you have and all that, the people that you have and all that, right? The help, the support and all that. So in terms of research data, it can actually be developed by using the normal repository software. For example, ePrint pun boleh support data, DSpace pun boleh support data. If you are building it in-house lah. But if you have money, your university have money, can pay about what? I'm not sure lah how much, but perhaps can invest some money, to have a platform that is hosted by a third party, for example. It will be very, very good. So your university will have a presence, for example, on this platform such as Figshare. And also the third party will also manage the various research output that you have, not only the data. Research output.
Abrizah, at the ministry level, dah ada ke initiative to prepare such a common platform for all universities and research organization? I mean, like hosting on a cloud somewhere, cloud yang dekat mampu tu ke, so that everybody just instead of University A buat cara dia, University buat cara dia, there should be one, I guess, at the MOHI level or at MOSTI level. Dah ada ke usaha gitu?
At the MOSTI level, it is the top layer, that is the Malaysian Open Science Platform, that will connect all the repositories, from RUs, from other, for example. So MOSP, so maknanya kalau tak ada, maknanya kena ada jugalah. If not, you will be left behind kan? Tapi I rasa tak ada masalah if a particular university can actually work with another university to develop, platform.
So the MOSP level tu actually is just connecting to all the various IR that exist in various organizations. Gitulah.
Simplest in federated search and all that.
Federated concept, yeah.
So they need a standard lah, maknanya kita kena ada satu macam bahasa yang sama untuk dia orang harvest kita punya record. Macam tu betul?
Repository yang ada ni semuanya, I rasa it is, I would say,
very heterogeneous kan?
Yalah. Platform agnostic lah, maknanya they can be able to, regardless of the equipment, you kan boleh tengok regardless of you nak guna iPad ke, smartphone ke kan? I think it should not be an issue lah in terms of identifying the repository, because all the repositories that are being developed in terms of hosting research output, and we're talking about repository developed by various parties kan, macam DSpace, MIT kan, Southampton, ePrint and all that. These are all very, very good repository that can actually cater, in terms of hosting research output, including data. So saya tak habis cakap tadi, sebenarnya macam NUS dengan NTU, dia make use of dia punya IR. They replicate another one for research data, and then another university macam SMU, dia ada sendiri, dia outsource. But what I can say is you can make use of your IR, current IR, or you can replicate your IR, okay, and make it a data repository. Boleh. It should not be an issue. All right. Yeah.
Terima kasih, Dr.
Okay, Prof. Sorry, please bear with me. I have a few more questions. This one is from Muhammad Riza Musa from IIUM. What are the appropriate knowledge management models that could be used in an organization context? Appropriate knowledge management models.
Oh, okay. Cik Muhammad Rizwan, I'm not a KM person. So I talk about knowledge management model. I know about the, non-ANCA kan, dia ada model that can actually, help us to understand how to capture tacit knowledge. Itu saja. Okay, all right. But what if you are connecting this to open science? Yeah, if you want to connect this knowledge management model that can be used in the context of organization managing the research data, I bolehlah cakap sikit. All right, what I have actually presented, just now, okay, to connect knowledge management or leverage. This is what IIUM kata, leverage knowledge management in the context of open science. So if an organization is managing their own research output, managing their research knowledge, I would say, okay, research knowledge. All right, you extend your current KM. What is your current KM model, or what is your current KM platform? Do you have one for research? Do you have one for research? All right, so you can extend that KM platform, okay, to managing your research output. Tetapi macam yang saya tunjuk tadi kan, yang Zhang model tadi, Zhang kan, kalau dia ada knowledge management platform, okay, hanya proprietary knowledge dalam dia punya institusi saja yang boleh akses dan sebagainya. Alright, so it is not open. It is not open. So it is not practicing openness and transparency. So that is the way you do it. Alright, so if you want to extend it to the point that people wants to get or access from you, people need to communicate with you. It can also be transparent in your platform, for example, your IR. Yeah, okay. If you want to extend it, okay, to the point that it is open, you should have a policy. You should have a policy, okay, in terms of what can be open, what cannot be open. All right. So when we talk about an appropriate knowledge management model that can be used in an organization context, managing their research output to be open, I would say that, okay, it is all about building a platform, okay, for the explicit knowledge, not a problem, all right, because explicit knowledge orang tak kisah pun boleh share kan. Paper dalam bentuk preprint tak ada masalah, because these are very explicitly documented in terms of papers, not an issue. It's just a matter of you want to make it open access or not. All right, but even if you do not make it open access, you can always share your preprint. This is not an issue. Okay, the issue is now sharing whatever supplementary materials, you punya nota dan sebagainya, notebook, you punya codes, you punya data, you know. Okay, so this is actually an issue. All right, people do not want to share. Okay, so although people do not want to share, but you know, I would say, who owns it? The institution owns it. The institution has the right, okay, to mandate it. All right. So I would say that when you talk about knowledge management model, okay, make it open. Okay, you have a platform, you have a mandate. Okay, whether to make it open. All right, that's it. Okay. So it like a very simple from my perspective, but we're talking about managing knowledge now, you know, scientific knowledge that can be made open, okay, that can be closed, but you need to have, you know, certain, you need to capture certain, I would say, description about making the research output that is not that is not explicit, I would say, about data and all that, right? The availability of these resources. Okay, so I'm sorry if I could not answer you, you know, accurately in terms of that, yeah, because I'm not sure what are the various KM models that are being used, but I'm looking at the perspective of KM and connecting in open science and managing science and knowledge in a more transparent and open manner.
Okay, Prof, one question from Prof. Ida Mariha, who is our Dean at Center for Postgraduate Studies. Open science is easier to achieve compared to mandatory open access publication. To a certain extent, our IREP and SREP can be considered as open science, as the abstract can be accessible to everybody. The larger problem is having the whole publication accessible to the community via open access. To encourage more open access, funders must make it as KPI and not Scopus or WOS. Then even larger problem is accessibility of data that is commonly held proprietary. What is your view on this, Prof?
Okay, all right, thank you, Prof Ida. Yeah? Okay, open science easier to achieve compared to mandatory open access publication. Okay, all right, open science, one aspect of open science, okay, I would say open science has been understood as the umbrella term, open scholarship, and one aspect of it is open access. Okay, so one aspect of open access is open access publishing. All right, so Prof Ida kata open science is easier to achieve compared to mandatory open access publication. Okay, open science publication, if it is open access, then if you are practicing publishing in open access, you are practicing open science. All right, because if you practice publishing in open access journals, open access journals, you are practicing open science. Okay, so I would say that open science will be easily achieved through open access publishing. Okay, I would like to bring that argument. All right, I would like to differ. Yeah, I would say that open science will be easier to achieve. Okay, when a researcher practice open access publishing, it will not be easy to achieve through open data. All right, yeah, it will not be easy to achieve through open data. Nowadays, we can see the performance of Malaysia. In terms of producing open access articles, is getting higher. Is getting the number of papers publishing in open access platform is increasing. Okay, it's increasing. All right. Okay. So when we talk about articles or journal papers that are being published under paywall journal, so this is tricky. Okay, journals, you publish in journals that are under paywall. Yeah, and this journal require you to pay open access fees if you want to make it open. So that one is tricky. All right, that one is tricky. Okay, so so if that's the case, okay, the repository, the librarian will only capture the what? You have the record of science. Okay, so you have the abstract and all that. All right, but you although you have the paper, okay, in your repository, but you make it close, right? So only IIUM community can access it, right? Okay, all right. So it's okay because you still have the record of science there. You still have the record of science, and then you have it in the form of open access. Oh, sorry, you have it in the form of open abstract, yeah. And you can also have you can also capture the resources that are listed in the paper. So you make the references open. So you have the open citation. So this is one way you to practice open science because the paper is under paywall. Okay. However, you can contact the researcher. Okay, Prof Ida. So let's say Prof Ida has a few papers, they are under paywall. It is open only the abstract. So the library can always go to Prof Ida. Prof Ida, do you have the preprint version of your paper? Okay, so you have to check, all right, under Sherpa Romeo or Sherpa Juliet, the provision made by the publisher. Some publishers, they do allow the researcher to deposit the preprint, meaning that maybe the peer-reviewed version, the version that you send, okay, after you have edited or addressed the peer review comment. All right, so you see, boleh memang boleh buat. All right, jangan kata tak boleh. Okay, so this is what I say tadi. Library should start thinking of, keeping the records of version, not the version of record. So if Dr. Ida, Prof Ida boleh share yang you submit untuk penerbitan, you submit untuk review pun boleh deposit. Yang you submit after you address the reviewer comment pun you boleh deposit. Make it open. Yang you close to the publisher version, the published version, if the publisher does not allow that. Alright? So I rasa tak ada masalah dekat situ. It's just a matter of it's just a matter of willingness and all. Tapi benda tu takes time and all that kan. Tapi memang kita semua ada simpan kopi tu, the peer review version, the version that you submit for review and all that, kan? Okay. So kalau semua kalau kita buat macam tu, I rasa insyaAllah lah we can have access to all this versions and sebab yang after peer review tu sebenarnya that is the version yang finally yang review yang publisher publish, cuma dia tak ada data tentang tentang volume mana kan, tak ada DOI dan sebagainya. Yeah? Tetapi actually you have the record of versions that can make the researcher publish your earlier versions of your publications. All right. One thing this is very much encouraged because you can actually see the various versions and you can actually see bila masa you start buat paper, bila masa you review dan sebagainya, because it will all be captured. Alright, dekat dalam data technical metadata tu, and it actually it portrays that the research paper is very original. I mean, you buat ada fasa-fasa tertentu that in terms of the version of the paper that can actually show that this is your work. Alright, rather than just satu record that you publish and then it is being closed because of certain provision in terms of access. Okay, so you have the data, you have the description of your paper and all that, but the paper is locked, kan? Tak syok lah kan? So why don't you have another versions, okay, of the paper deposited in your IR? All right. So actually, this practice is incentivized, okay, in various countries, okay, especially in Europe, and also to the extent that some maybe you have not heard of this. This is what we call as Plan S. There's a movement of implementing Plan S. Maknanya institusi hanya consider penerbitan daripada open access journal. Right, Plan S. Alright, so tapi Plan S ni jadi macam tak cantik because some commercial publishers start to pay charges. Okay, dulu dia close, lepas tu dia under subscription, lepas tu dia start apa? Charging people to publish. Alright, through APC. Yeah. So because funders have actually said that, okay, we want you to publish all your research output open access, including open access journals. Okay, when this comes about, so commercial journals start to charge. In fact, our Malaysian journals also dah start charging. All right. But however, we should understand, kenapa kita charge? Yeah? Kenapa kita charge author to pay? Because the author, this is what we are talking about, papers or research that are from taxpayers' money, meaning that research that are funded by the government or any national or international funders. So the concept is that when you publish, the author will bear the publishing costs so that the reader do not have to pay to read. Okay? So that is open access publishing. All right. So in the end, affordable open access is free to the author and free to reader. Okay. We do not want to have this mindset, oh kita bayarlah, senang nak publish. No, it's not that. We publish because we want our paper to be accessible to the readers. So the publication charges is paid by us. So library tak payah bayar. Jadi orang pun tak payahlah bayar. Kadang-kadang you publish kan. So you tengok paper tu, oh nak download 1 sampai RM99.99 USD. Kan? Dan nak 40 lebih ringgit kan? Right? So we don't want that to happen. Open Science does not want that to happen. Open Science will encourage a researcher or the research group or the institution to bear the publication cost. Maknanya to subsidize reading. So that the library tak payah subscribe and then the general public in the world tak payahlah bayar. Nak download je nak kena bayar dan sebagainya. Alright.
Prof Abrizah, Prof Ida, if you're there, would you like to respond to anything?
Sorry, as usual, I was doing too many things at one go, multitasking. It's interesting how you view open science in that manner, because like you mentioned that open access is actually a subset of open science. And if you view it that way, then actually we have achieved a lot of the goals of open science, even with our SREP and IREP, because these are already in practice. And a lot of researchers also share their preprint through platforms like SSRN, ResearchGate, LinkedIn. So these are all practices that contribute to open science. So open science have been in existence for some time already, and it is already in practice. My concern is more of open access, because a lot of our local funders, you talk about international funders, that's true. International funders are more supportive of open access. But our biggest funder, like Ministry of Education and Ministry of Science, would rather have Web of Science and Scopus as the preferred publication. But if we can bypass that by having, the abstracts available on our IREP and, sharing the article when other researchers request for a read. So we have also achieved the goal of open science. So for me, that's a beautiful way of looking at it. So we don't have, researchers like me don't have to worry so much that we are not supporting this open science thingy. Thank you very much. What will be more difficult is actually open data, because we organized a workshop on open data previously. When we do research, things like statistics are not so easy to get, especially in Malaysia. You need to request for statistics from the various ministries. We have to pay some of the statistics, when actually these are like raw data that is really necessary when we do research. And it'd be good if at that level, a lot of this research data is shared. And that will be the next step. I think that is the larger issue, whether researchers are willing to share. Like Prof Norbik saying, if you share, then your competitors will compete with you based on your data. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof.
Prof. Abrizah, a very quick one because we already half an hour past 12. From Prof. Roslina Osman, if I'm mistaken, from Kuliah of ICT, KM used to discuss stolen ideas as part of knowledge acquisition, especially the Tacit knowledge. Any help from open science practices?
Okay, in terms of open science, knowledge acquisition, all right. When we talk about open science, we remove the barriers, Prof. Roslina. You try to minimize the barriers, okay, to the research output. Okay, when we talk about knowledge acquisition, all right, it is from the perspective of you acquiring knowledge from the users. It is not about the researcher acquiring knowledge about the research. Right? When we talk about removing the barriers of research output, we're talking about now the user. I want to have access to your research output. So I want to acquire your knowledge. Okay, so that is how open science view it. So we want to acquire your knowledge. All right, but in KM, it is about knowledge acquisition of the Tacit knowledge within your institution. It is proprietary. When we talk about open science practices, it is about from the user. Okay, from the user who wants your knowledge. All right. Okay, now we are talking about stolen ideas now. Because I have experienced this of late. Okay, we have papers being retracted. We have people complaining. Even universities complaining to another universities that a particular thesis is being plagiarized. But that somehow happened how many years for a paper being retracted to the point that sampai 12 tahun baru retract. People stole your idea. Dah lama dah, tapi paper tu dah published 12 years baru kena retract. People, a particular student graduated, for example, 5 years ago, barulah sekarang tahu that paper, that idea is being stolen, okay, from another professor in United States, for example. That is 5 years. All right? Okay. Itu sebelum making it open. So I would say that open science will actually deter this. Awal-awal lagi tahu, dia dah deter all these cipelak dan sebagainya. Okay, I just want to make this a very quick comment. This one, I really appreciate one of my students telling me this. All right, I do not want to reveal the university. One thing about some postgraduate students, they love to, not love lah, some of them, they have tendency, okay, to submit their thesis to proofreaders, kan? Right? How can you assure that your thesis is not being given to anyone else, and that particular person does not curi or ciplak the idea? You see? So if let's say, okay, that particular, you as a researcher, does start, you as a researcher, you have educated, train your student to actually start, okay, not actually sharing their thesis, but somehow open up the practices of them doing the research. Start lah nak publish apa, dia punya for example, proposal dan sebagainya. You start very much early, okay, in the research process, so that you boleh detect siapa yang curi siapa punya idea. Right? So this is something that I recently learned that if let's say if let's say that particular university does not have, of course that university has an embargo period, right? Okay, that particular university has its own policy on making thesis open. Okay, but somehow that thesis reach according to according to the person, okay, whose thesis, who claim his thesis to be plagiarized, right? The thesis is not available, okay, in any repository, right? It was available only in at the point when it was actually shared lah in another informal platform and all that. Mungkin student lah kot, mungkin people you manage to get that thesis from another repository that is closed. You faham tak? For example, IIUM, you close your repository thesis kan? You close, okay? So somebody from your university managed to get it, download it, and that perhaps it is being shared, okay, in an informal platform, mungkin terlalu email dan sebagainya, alright? Okay, so to the point that bila dapat digunakan thesis tu, the full text, alright, it is not open, but it is being disseminated. Okay, from various, your student, pas kat student lain dan sebagainya, you share through emails and all that. Alright, so it also happened, but to me, why don't you open it so that people can actually have accessibility to the research lain lah, kalau research tu memang very, very, confidential. Alright, yeah. So Prof Roslina, I would say that open science, I'm really positive of open science, can actually somehow deter lah stolen ideas earlier. Janganlah sampai dah budak dah grad, paper dah publish 3-4 tahun, kena retract dan sebagainya. So we can actually see papers, journal articles that are being retracted. Alright, early sekarang ni because they are being shared in preprint service. Maknanya paper retracted sebelum penerbitan. Paper retracted masa di online version ataupun masa review period tu kita dah tahu, okay, alright, you have actually stolen somebody ideas, and then the reviewers senang cerita. Dah tahu dah, okay, this papers has actually been, the ideas come from this, could you please include this, okay, what is your response on this, a similar paper has actually, a similar research has actually been published, for example, and it is being shared in this, macam tu. Okay, so we can actually see sekarang ni memang bila orang share dalam preprint, kalau yang memang share idea yang memang diciplak dan sebagainya, alright, it is very cepat dapat detect by the peer reviews.
Okay. Abrizah, our PG thesis now is open access.
Oh yeah, it's an open access?
Yeah.
Alright. Okay, thank you. Okay, sebab saya tadi tengok ada yang macam 24 pages saja kan, lepas tu yang tu.
Yeah, but the author still control it, put it that way. The first 20 pages available, and after that they can open it. But it's open access. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Yeah.
Okay, Prof. One last question, a very quick answer from you, Prof. This one is from Chip Musa. Yeah, Prof, do you have any idea the best practice university library in open science and RDM in this region or Australasia?
Okay, Cik Musa nak visit ke? Alright, if you really would like to visit, kan, I would advise you to go to Netherlands. Yeah, Netherlands. Some universities there, okay, they have really very, very macam Utrecht, Leiden. Alright, they really have a good, best practices lah in open access. For the librarian, for the librarian, it's not for the researchers. You're talking about best practices, university library. Okay, I mean for the librarians, how the librarians go about, alright, engaging with researchers, doing advocacy, the platform that they use, the metadata that they use to organize. To describe the research data, for example, selection of research data, alright. Provisions of copyright in terms of use. Okay, you can actually visit, I would say, a Netherlands university. They also have online courses, percuma online courses. So you can actually, enroll in these online courses. You track, I rasa, online courses in RDM pun ada. Another one will be Hong Kong, University of Science and Technology. I'm not sure about Australia. I do believe that because Australia has been training beribu-ribu academic librarians lah in RDM. Yeah? Okay, so that's my answer lah. The best practice university library.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, if your institution can send you for any opportunity for for training kan, ataupun you just subscribe lah to the Utrecht RDM online course. It's free. Nanti tunggu lagi ya bila dia recruit more.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof. All right, Alhamdulillah, we have come to the end of our session today. On behalf of Dar Al-Hikmah Library, IIUM, we would like to thank all of you for your time and being part of our wonderful participants for today's session. Once again, we would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to the respected speaker and participants for your presence. We would also like to apologize for any shortcomings and inconveniences caused. Hope to meet you again and wish all of you a pleasant day and stay safe wherever you are. Let's end our talk for today with the recitation of Tasbih Kifara as-Surah As. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Prof. Abrizah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prof.
You shared a lot of experience and